Welcome to the Empowered Podcast, episode number 72. I hope you have enjoyed the last several episodes all about creating live events, how you can take your online brand and your business and all these online connections and bring those out into the real world. If you haven't checked those out yet, make sure you start with episode number 68 with Laura Elgaita, and we talk about how you can do that all the way up through episode 69, 70, and 71 to help you take your business to the next level with online events. In today's episode, we are featuring a new kind of interview that I have done. If you have not checked out my membership site, go to members.ellerywells.com and you will get full and complete access to what you are about to hear of this episode. In this episode, I talk with Marshall Stevenson, who started Sockbox. It's a Canadian company who takes the subscription model that we've all seen before and applies them to something unique, socks. He was tired of hearing people complain and always wearing just regular black and brown and white socks, and he wanted to spice up the sock world. And we are going to talk with him about how he decided to take this idea from concept to creation, and how he takes a digital store, a completely online store, and integrates that with the real, live, physical product that he mails out each and every single month. So sit back, take notes, and enjoy this episode with Marshall Stevenson. If this interview with him, if this chat and this live interaction that we had at the end of January intrigues you and you find value in what we talk about here today, I hope you check out members.ellerywells.com. It's my membership site, and sign up. Everyone at the Entrepreneur Plus level membership gets access to all of these calls, current, past, and future. And by the way, if you're in one of my mastermind groups or you have hired me for coaching, you will get access to these as well. And not only just access to the catalog, but you'll get access to participate in all of the future experts calls as well. So again, sit back, relax, take some notes, get ready to learn from Marshall and how he grew his business from idea to implementation. Here we go. Thanks everybody for joining today. We're having our first live experts call with Marshall Stevenson. Marshall and I met each other about a year ago, just over a year ago actually, at New Media Expo in Las Vegas, and we just kind of clicked and hit it off, became friends, and have chatted several times over the last 12 months or so. And whenever I decided to, through the recommendation of some of the people in my mastermind, when I decided to do a membership site so I can provide tools all in one place and provide all of these resources to help everybody get going and get their online businesses started, I was like, I want to do live experts calls with people who are doing what I want to do, who are living the dream and all that kind of corny stuff, but actually making it happen online. And so my very first one, I wanted to have my friend Marshall, who, don't hold it against him, he's a Canadian. But let's give a warm round of applause to Marshall Stevenson, who created Sockbox. How you doing, Marshall?
I'm doing well, Ellery. And I was trying to figure out who you were introducing there about, expert and all that kind of stuff. But hey, I'll go with this right now. And if you're watching on video, you can obviously see this as well. And I'll probably get more haters, but go Hawks. Repeat that Super Bowl. Repeat the Super Bowl. Yeah.
There's not a Canadian football team you should be rooting for.
Oh sure, but our season's done. We're covered in snow right now.
I don't even know if I can say Canadian if I fall in the same sentence without laughing.
Our balls are bigger. Our field is bigger. We have one less down and one more player on the field. So our 12th man is actually on the field. The 13th man is in the stands. So.
Because it's so cold that nobody wants to go to the stadium. They're back at home. That's where the actual 13th man.
Yeah, that's very true as well. So
So anyway, like I just mentioned, Marshall and I have been friends for a long time. We have chatted on and off over the last 12 months. And Marshall, I want you to tell the story, but the highlights of it. You've owned your own business, but you were working as a contractor for somebody else. There was a change in the contract, and you found yourself in a position of, do I do this or do I not? And kind of take us through that process, maybe when that started, or going back even a little bit before, and walk us through your journey.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll change names to protect the innocent and all that kind of stuff. But basically, probably, well, I was on contract with an oil and gas company here in town. We're in Calgary, so we often get compared to like the Houston of the North or the Dallas of the North. Like oil and gas is big up here. A lot of head offices up here. So I was on contract with one of them, doing a whole bunch of different web content and development stuff with them, and could kind of hear different words coming through talking about budget and headcount and that kind of stuff. So kind of saw some of that. I was there for 3.5 years, met some great people, still friends with a lot of them. In fact, my former manager comments and likes a lot of my stuff on Facebook all the time. And, you know, like it's one of those things. And so it came down that, oh, you know what, contract, you know, we have to end it early, and here you go, right? So, but before that, I was getting bored. So I had to, unlike now, I had to dress up to go to work, right? Not full suit, but, you know, had to have, you know, collared shirt, you know, nice dress pants and polished shoes and socks. And I was getting really, really bored with all my black socks. And so, you know, I was trying to see, I'm like, well, is there a way that I can do this online and that kind of stuff? And I found this one company where they had a Sock of the Month club, but they were only in the States. And so I couldn't get that here. So I'm like, okay, so I kept digging and digging and found another one based in the States. And I could get it here, but they were going to charge me extra shipping. So then I finally found one in Canada, based out in Ontario, so north of New York for the Americans, with some geography there, and I subscribed with the pure intent to see if it was something I liked, if there were opportunities for improvement in their marketing, to reverse engineer their process. I've been doing that kind of stuff for years. I taught myself CSS, like going into the web world. I taught myself CSS, reverse engineering some guy's website. And I went, oh, this does that, oh, that. So my brain has kind of always worked that way. So yeah, I was subscribed to them for about 4 months or so, and finally I said, you know what, I just need to send some emails. Like, what the heck, right? So I identified a couple brands that I wanted to offer and sent them emails, and that was on like a Tuesday, right? And then by Thursday, I had emails from them saying, oh yeah, here's our rate card, here's everything, you know, we'd love to work with you, blah, 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 blah. And I went, wow, I'm like, that was quick.
So you went direct to the people who made the socks?
Yeah, so one of the brands that I carry is called Happy Socks. They're based out of Sweden. I just hopped on their website, found a contact form, and said, hey, do you either have a Canadian distributor or are you interested in one? Because I would go that route as well, right? Every person in the chain always gets a little piece of the pie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that. So I said, okay, let's go to the source. Well, they've got distributorship in Canada, so they forwarded my email around, and it got to them within a couple days. And I had a couple phone calls back and forth, and I went, okay, and I was kind of humming and hawing about it. And then, so like the following week, it was like a Thursday or something like that, I had this meeting where my contract got canceled, and I was like, I'm like, hey, this is a bit of a sign, right? So then, you know, thought about it a little bit more, was getting ready to go on vacation and that sort of thing, but had run numbers in that short limited amount of time to say, yeah, there's a huge opportunity here. to have some margins, and chatted with my wife about it, and we looked down at our finances and all that kind of stuff, and it was let's go for it. Let's try it.
So you subscribe to these other or this one other sock subscription service, whatever you want to call it, with the idea that you might one day replicate that process?
100%. That was
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and honestly, to this day, I'm still subscribed to their service, to my competitor. I will give them my $12 every month, which honestly equates to about 15 US right now, but I won't go there. But yeah, so I give them $12 a month. My price is exactly the same as theirs. So I have to differentiate myself on product, experience, packaging, service, all that kind of stuff. And that was some of the things that I really identified I could do.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm doing. And they have some awesome hits for their socks, and they have some awesome misses as well. And I mean, I only a week ago sent out, over a week ago, I guess, sent out my second shipment of socks. And everybody I keep getting back, it's like, oh my God, I love these. These are awesome. I can't wait for more, right? And so I'm like, okay. And there's been a lot of challenges and learning over the last couple months as well.
Well, I definitely want to get to those, Marshall. What has there been a favorite sock though? Is it like, people are gravitating towards kittens or hockey pucks or anything like that? Are you getting any sort of feedback like, oh, I love these but don't like these?
No, I haven't had any feedback on I don't like these. So the first sock that went out, it was this really brightly colored, like red was the base color, and it was striped. So it had a red sole to it, and a number of different colored stripes going all the way up at, reds, blues, greens, yellows, almost rainbow but not quite rainbow kind of thing.
Okay.
And everybody loved those. And so much so that I actually didn't even end up keeping a pair for myself, which was really disappointing.
Oh, poor Marshall.
Yeah, I know. And then, but there was another sock that also went out to just a small group of people, because I also offer, so you can get one sock or you can get two socks. Sorry, let me rephrase that. You can get one pair or two pairs a month,
Okay.
and they're different styles as well. So there was one that came out in that first chunk, that first shipment, that had monocles, mustaches, and top hats on them, because it was New Year's related.
So does everybody that subscribe to Sockbox, I want to make sure we throw out the URL so everybody can the Canadians anyway can go and check it out and sign up.
Hold on one sec. I want to pause you there, because I actually do have two Americans that have purchased 3 subscriptions for Canadian friends.
There you go.
So I have one subscription, so because we offer a gift subscription. This was huge before Christmas, right? So one woman out of Wisconsin purchased a gift subscription,
okay.
And then the same woman out of Washington purchased 2 subscriptions. So I will sell anywhere in the world, and when you go on there to go purchase, you can drop down your country and all that kind of stuff. But I'm only going to ship to Canada.
I wonder if it's like getting around any sort of laws, or if it would be getting anybody in trouble if you had like a Canadian post office that forwards your stuff. Like you would have somebody forward your mail. I wonder if they could forward the socks.
You can totally do that. There's an American service that does that to ship to Canada, but there's another fee on it, right? And all that kind of stuff. I used to work, so here, real tangent, backstory here. When I was growing up after high school, during university, I worked at a Mailboxes, Etc., which has now been rebranded, at least in Canada, as the UPS store. And we used to, because of our proximity to the border, we used to actually have people that went to college in the States, but they'd get all their stuff shipped to their Canadian address, and then once a week, once a month, whatever they told us to do, we'd stuff it all their mail, their bills, their letters, all that kind of stuff into an envelope and forward it down to their college address. So they had it there. So, definitely mail forwarding exists.
So there may be a way for us U.S. Americans to. It was a little joke about Miss America competition. Did y'all see that? Did you see that video? Like, U.S. Americans. Yeah, she looked real smart. Anyway, so there might be a way for us U.S. Americans to get a sock box subscription all the way down here at the other end of the country, or other end of the
continent.
There you go, the continent down here all the way in Austin. So you had mentioned challenges, and again, I want to get to that here in just a second. But you said you had subscribed to this other sock company for about 4 months before your contract ended, and you had some tough decisions to make. How long did it go from, or how long was it from when you and your wife had this "what do we do now" conversation to your first paid subscriber?
Not as long as it probably should have been, or
maybe
longer,
that's
longer than it should have been as well. So we left for vacation October. Let me just pull this up here, because I want to get these timelines sort of right.
Yeah, because you and I had talked about talked right when you got back.
Right, October 13th. Nope, that's November. October 9th. Let's see here. Yeah, so I think it was October 9th, right in mid-October, right around our Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. So it would have been the 16th then. And we left for Hawaii. We already had it all booked and everything, and the decision was, like, we were going to cancel, and we're like, well, wait a minute, 80% of it's already paid for. It'll be a great time to recharge, reflect, figure stuff out, and come back from there. So basically, so I had purchased the domain prior to that.
And tell us what that is.
Sockbox.ca, sockbox.ca. The .com was taken, which was fine because I'm targeting Canadians, so that's why I went with the Canadian top-level domain. So, long story short, I got up I won't make it short. I'll give you what you want here, right?
Yeah, give us the details, because we want to know how to do what you're doing.
Exactly. So honestly, right away, I threw up a holding page. I'm a lead pages subscriber, so I went there. I grabbed a lead box real quick, threw up a splash page. I use a maintenance mode plugin in WordPress, so I can customize that maintenance page. Found a stock image online, blurred the heck out of it. It was socks, but they were bright and colorful, and put up a button saying, save my spot. You click that, the lead box came up asking for a name and email address, and that fed it right into MailChimp because it was free, which is exactly what I was looking for at that phase.
Absolutely.
And then I built in the background, because I had this maintenance page up. It didn't matter. If you weren't logged in, it would direct you to there. So I built in the background this WordPress page, and went through trying to evaluate the platform I was going to go on, how I could do subscriptions, and really trying to keep costs low, which in some extent actually cost me more by trying to sort of circumvent different areas and that kind of stuff. So not getting things for free, but paying. So I chose to use WooCommerce as my shopping cart platform because it's so extensible. You can have, so it's a plugin for WordPress, but then you can have plugins for that plugin, right? So you can do subscriptions, you can do MailChimp things, you can do all sorts of automated stuff, which is great. But I opted, instead of going with the official WooCommerce subscription plugin, I went with another one that I found on Envato's marketplace, not Theme Forest, but whichever, their Code Canyon, I think is what it is. So I went with that one because it was $15 cheaper. well, when I fast forward to where I am now, which we can get to, that one doesn't work right. So I had to go get the proper one anyways, but that was just kind of where I took direction. But so I figured stuff out, constantly developing or designing stuff, tweaking stuff, designing stuff, tweaking stuff. And I was checking out my competitors the whole time to see things that they did that they liked or that I liked, and things that I didn't. And it didn't matter if you were Canadian or American or, based out of the UK or wherever you were. If you had some sort of subscription service, I was checking out your website. Even, I'm sure you know about it. I clearly don't, but Dollar Shave Club, right?
Okay.
I was looking at their site even when they launched, right, using the Wayback Machine at archive.org to see, okay, how did they do some of their messaging and that kind of stuff, because they're obviously very successful. So I was looking at competitors in the subscription market, but not necessarily the stock market.
The stock market,
right?
Okay.
And so I started at the time as well using a free, for lack of a better term, task management software. I used Asana as well. So I created a project in there, then I came up with all the tasks I needed to do, assign dates and timelines and that kind of stuff to them, and kept going at it every single day. Now I did have some other clients that I was doing some work for as well, so I had a couple other web clients and some print graphic design clients, so I still had a little bit of money coming in from them as well, and I still actually have them, so I still have that little bit as well. Not all my eggs are in the same basket, but so I was working on them, and when I wasn't working on them, I was working on Sockbox, and that was the thing. I mean, you can ask my wife. We'd be sitting watching TV, and my laptop's on my lap, and I'm working at stuff, right?
Been there.
And honestly, I still do it because, and I had this conversation the other day, I'm always working because it actually is fun, right? Like it doesn't feel like work, right? So back to it, I wanted to make sure that I was out in time for Christmas. And ideally, I wanted to get out in front of Black Friday because I was like, ooh, big shopping day and, sales and all that kind of stuff, right? I wanted to be part of that. Remind me to come back to the sale aspect of stuff. So basically, we got back from Hawaii the end of October 27th, 28th. I launched it on November 20th. It went live. I sent out an email with a launch special to a number of, to the email list that I had built up with minimal, well, actually no advertising, all word of mouth, all Facebook. Like I immediately went out and, got Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and, all those account pages with my username. But I was promoting to my network and my friends. And if you were Canadian and I was friends with you, I was requesting you to come like my page. And then it was kind of going out from there as well. So that worked. We got that list up over 100
of likes or your people on your email
100
list?
Subscriptions on the email list. We actually had more email subscribers than we did page likes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do. I've got about the same actually.
Yeah. And it's actually, I still have more emails, even to this day, I have more email addresses than I do Facebook likes.
Which is good, because one's infinitely more valuable to you.
Exactly, right? So yeah, within the span of a month, I launched. And seeing the first sale coming through, it came through probably 2 minutes after that email went out.
Okay, so in a month you're capturing somewhat warm leads. I know I signed up for the list, but obviously I'm not in Canada, so I'm kind of out by default. So you got 100 people or so on this list in a month, and then just minutes after you say you got your first sale, what was that first email like? Like, hey, you can now, thanks for signing up, thanks for your interest. Now you can put your money where your mouth is and like officially subscribe. What was that email like?
That email basically came out and said along the lines of like, yeah, we're live. We're now open for business. Click this link to see our launch special.
Okay.
And
wow.
And she'll probably never admit to this. My wife's a great copywriter. She's got a great marketing background, as do I. And so it was a great collaboration for that. I quickly did up a landing page where I had all 12 different options for the subscriptions, right? So, because you can buy it for yourself with 1 sock or 2 socks, and you can either do it monthly, 6-month commitment, or a 12-month commitment, or you can give it to someone. Again, 1 or 2 socks, 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month commitment. And I had that all on one page, and we gave them funky names and all that kind of stuff, and it was like the person would click from their email, hit this landing page, here's all the options, click that, and it would take them automatically to the shopping cart, checkout.
Still with WooCommerce.
Still all with WooCommerce, yeah. Take them right to the shopping cart, fill out their billing information, process runs through Stripe. I get notification, hey, you just got an order for $132 or whatever,
That's
right?
insane, man.
Yeah, because they decided that they wanted 2 socks a month for a 6-month period, and it was someone that I knew. It was not
That's
at all
right.
it was not at all someone I was expecting to actually buy. And so I went, wow.
Was
okay.
it a family member?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a family member.
That's even better.
I don't actually have any family members.
Thanks
now
for the
that
support,
I think of
guys.
it. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Mom.
I just bought a subscription for my brother for his birthday yesterday. I bought one of my own, but so I got a good deal on it because I know a guy. But
well, I got a question. So you're directing people with this email back to this landing page, and I'm studying webinars. I've got a webinar that's going out tomorrow, and I might replicate the process, but I'm studying webinars, and I think the best practice is to essentially have a minimal number of options, a single call to action, or do you want good, better, or best? And here you have 12 options. Did you split test that? Was that a conscious decision, or were you just trying to make it available to as many people as possible with the options?
So you're absolutely right. You want to really guide the user, right? Like any conversion expert is going to tell you want to guide that user. I wanted to give them everything on one page, so they didn't have to click around. So it laid out exactly, you want it for yourself, here's your options. Click whichever button you want, and it's going to take you away. Here's how it works. Here's our socks, the suppliers that we work with. Here's a few other questions, like that kind of stuff. Now, I still have my main navigation across the top as well, so they could go poke around that way if they really wanted to, but I was trying to really guide them. If I really, truly wanted to guide them, I would have removed that top navigation.
You made it more of a, quote, landing page or sales page or squeeze page or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a number of different things that the thing is, and I've used this with you, ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
Right? So I launched it too early. But you know what? I didn't launch it too early. Because I launched it, I got feedback on different things, and I tweaked it. And then I pushed it again. And then tweak it. And then push it again, right? So all this, so I had everything all set up through Cloudflare because there's some additional caching capabilities and that kind of stuff, and it's free, right? Well, so Saturday night, it's about, 10:15, and I'm sitting there, go figure, I'm sitting there, working on stuff on
Saturday
on the website, yep. and I get this text message, and I'm like, and it's a colleague I know, and she's like, I'm trying to purchase, and it tells me page not found. Oh my goodness, right? Yeah, exactly. So I pull it up, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I see it. So she calls me, and so picture this: I'm sitting in bed with the laptop. My wife is sitting in bed beside me. It's 10:15 at night. The phone rings, and I answer it, and it's a woman's voice on the other end of the line. So I was like, okay. I'm like, whatever, right? And then so I handed it off to my wife actually after I'd already spoken through stuff because she had other questions. and my wife, she's so great. She's like, yeah, I wasn't worried because you sat here and you answered it. You know, if I had to worry about anything, you would have gone to another room. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, well, that's good. I was still like awkward about answering the phone, right? But what was happening was Cloudflare is set up to cache a lot of pages, so things operate faster. They have a little bit of a CDN distribution and that kind of stuff. Well,
CDN, everybody, is a content delivery network. Your site and pages are stored on servers all over the country or the world, so that data has to go a shorter physical distance between your computer and that server, so you get pages faster.
Perfect. There we go. So all pages on the site were cached, including the payment page. So I turned that off, told her, okay, you know, give it a couple minutes. She got off the phone with my wife. 5 minutes later, I had an email notification that she purchased it. I had a text message from her saying, hey, it works, great, no problem, you know, awesome, thanks. And that made me go, how many sales did I miss out on?
Oh man.
And I still don't know. But
you know, it's better for that to have happened now than 6 months from now, or a month from now, or a year from now. Because I'm going through something similar, and I've been messaging you back and forth with having email subscription issues for the webinar, for my course, and there's no way to know what you don't know. There's no way to know. Missed sales, don't know if it's hard to prove a negative that just didn't happen. So it is a punch to the gut, and it sucks.
But this is what I'm saying though, right? Is that I launched it. I never even thought to test that piece of it. When I launched it, I went through like a new customer, and I processed an order with my credit card with a brand new profile, like I was a brand new customer, and I checked out successfully. And then I refunded it and canceled it, so I made sure that end-to-end QA was working. That was on Thursday, and it worked great, no problem, even like in live mode. So that was Thursday. Orders came through Thursday. Orders came through Friday. Saturday, nothing. And I was like, okay, it's the weekend. I'm like, I get it. But it wasn't until that phone call, and I went, oh man, made that change. Her order came through. Sunday, some more came through. Monday, more came through. I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, thank goodness. But when it really, like, part of my thing was, so I didn't have any stock. I didn't have any shipping materials or anything. All that I had invested was in my website. And I did most of the work myself. But, you know, it was still, by the time I was done, you know, because I got good quality hosting, I used Flywheel, getflywheel.com. Love them. They specialize in WordPress hosting. I've got a few different sites there. Highly recommend it because I've had bad experiences in the past with different shared hosts.
So you do have dedicated hosting right now?
Yeah.
So that's like the $20+ a month, right?
I honestly don't even recall how much it is. Get
16.
Flywheel.com. And I prepaid it for a whole year because you get a better deal that way as well. I think I thought they were $15 a month, but they're showing 30. Oh wait, yeah, I used their tiny plan, $15 a month.
Okay,
one
so that's
WordPress install.
That's a pretty big jump because I still use the $4 a month from Bluehost. So that's another investment that you had made. Before we go any further, Mark, I got a question from Larry who asked, are you designing the actual product, or are you serving purely as the middleman? So if you can answer that question as for right now and maybe what you plan to do 6, 8, 12 months from now?
Perfect. Yeah, no problem, Larry. Thanks. Love the question. Right now, purely middleman. No different than in that aspect. No different than my competition in that aspect. I've sourced 5 different brands that I currently do, and so I pick through them, their different styles, order from them, and from distribution. Usually there are a few companies that I go direct with. I get a better deal, but they just don't have distribution set up. I've gone looking. I've got about 3 or 4 more that I need to connect with as well to see their stuff. That's where I am right now, though, is that I'm purely doing that kind of distribution, for lack of better. I'm Amazon, and you're ordering socks from me on a subscription basis, and you don't know what you're getting. Now, plan.
Plus, you don't know exactly what your subscribers want yet. You're getting a better idea, but
well, and part of it is the randomness. Part of it is that surprise, and that's part of the experience, right? And you're right. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. I'm clear on who my avatar is, which is funny because I totally diverted from that and wasted a bunch of money on some Facebook ads, and then went, oh, wait a minute, why am I doing that? Remembering who my avatar was, and then going back to it, and all of a sudden, getting results. Go figure. When you can dial in who your audience is, and you think like them, and you work like them, and you target them, it's done. So the plan is that, yes, in the future, so my goal is to grow up to, my plan first is to grow up. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I want to be at 1,000 subscribers within 6 months. And our growth is, if I continue to grow at the same rate, we'll reach that level. I'm trying to work on some other things to actually curve it up and hockey stick it a little bit more, to make it reach there a little bit faster. But most sock manufacturers, for anything custom, have minimum order amounts. And my thing is, I carry very minimal inventory because I ship once a month. So if you subscribe today, you're going to get the February shipment. It's January 27th today. The shipment goes out around February, between 10th and 13th, because I get my order in to my supplier the first week of February. They then ship it to me. I rebundle it and pack it all in, and away we go.
You had wanted us to come back to the sales, and you'd mentioned Black Friday, and I want you to expand on that a little bit, Marshall, because as entrepreneurs, as business owners, or even coming out of corporate America, we were always competing on price. And when I was selling computers or servers, I had a discount threshold that I could do. I had list price. But now when it's our own product, whether it's a physical product or coaching or consulting, it's saying, okay, I have 20% margin or 20% profit on this is almost impossible. When you have a physical product, you have a cost. You know how much it costs to ship it, and maybe it's a little bit easier. But expand on what you're thinking about with the sales and the Black Friday deals. How do you figure out the cost? Talk about that for a minute.
So I had some costs. So I had wholesale cost on what it was going to cost me per sock, but I didn't know about shipping costs or anything. So I estimated I knew how much one pair of socks weighed, and I kind of estimated based on quantity and that kind of stuff. And shipping, I mean, you can get any shipping quote on UPS.com or FedEx or whatever, right? And that's who these companies are going to utilize. So I kind of had stuff figured out, except for the fact that when I ordered from one of the companies in the States, I'm billed in American dollars, and who knows what the exchange rate's going to do on whatever day that I order. And then because we're crossing the border, I also have to pay duty and taxes on it because the government wants their money at some point. So that was another $80 hit that I wasn't expecting. So because the shipment I think came through at like $250, then it was like $80 for duty on that and everything. And by the time it was all said and done, I ordered in such a small quantity as well because it was my first shipment. I didn't want to hold a lot of inventory, et cetera, right? My socks came in about 60 or 70% higher than I had initially forecast.
Ouch.
And I went, I don't have any margin. But I still had to ship them out anyways. So I've tweaked a bunch of different things. I haven't since ordered yet from the States. I plan to, but I'll also be prepared for it, and I'm going to do things a little bit differently that way to make sure that I get a good rate on that. But so that's kind of your margin side, right? But what I was thinking about initially was, okay, well, Black Friday, everybody's discounting stuff. Well, I'm in the first week still, and if all of a sudden I say, Ellery, my socks are regular $12 a month for a subscription, but because it's Black Friday, I'm going to give them to you for 25% off. So you get it for $9 a month. I immediately devalued my product offering. I immediately said, don't ever pay me $12 a month because you should only pay me $9.
Yeah.
And it took me a little bit to really think that, and I said, and I even kind of thought this like right from the beginning. I'm like, I don't want to position, I don't want to race to the bottom because that's only going to hurt everybody. Being in the web design industry for as long as I've been in it, I've seen websites go from, $3,000-$4,000 to like, well, I can go get that done for $200. Talk to the guy the kid down the road, right? So it's a race to the bottom. Nobody ever wins there. And so I was trying to really figure stuff out. And so based on my margins and that kind of stuff, I said, you know what? If you commit to me for 6 months, one, that gives me better forecasting. You're committing to it, right? I'm pre-selling. I'm going to give you an extra pair of socks, which if you do the math on that, it's actually about...
That's $2 a pair instead of $3 a pair.
Right, but it's also about an 18% discount, whereas... I would have probably, I wouldn't have given you 25, but I probably would have given you about 15% off. 10 to 15 is kind of the standard across the board between American and Canadian competitors. That's what they'll discount it. So I'm actually giving you more of a discount, but the perception is that you're getting extra.
Well, I think that's a really valuable lesson, because if you, like you said, race to the bottom, not only are you devaluing your services, but let's say you're selling at 12. Let's say you're $2 of profit, 20% margin, and you're selling it at 25%. You're losing money, and that's not good. That's not good business for anybody. But if you go to the top end, if you go, instead of going down for lower price, you go for more value. That's another way that you can stand out from the market. It does not devalue anything. If you say I'm going to give you an extra sock, there's very little downside to that in perception or anything like that. There's a lot more benefit when you try to go over the top to the value instead of under the bottom on price. So that's a good lesson learned. So through our conversations, I've learned and discovered some new things about you. So in the beginning, you said you were trying to piecemeal things together, kind of go a la carte with WooCommerce, some 15 discounted plugins and MailChimp, but that's not what you're using today. And tell us where you are now?
Yes and no, Ellery. Right. So I'm still using WooCommerce as my platform. I still have a couple of key plugins that I utilize in that. But I went from the reliable Honda Civic and I upgraded to the Lambo. And now instead of MailChimp as my main mailing service provider, I'm now an Infusionsoft subscriber. And I had looked at it initially. It was in my evaluations of maybe I'll go with them because they offer shopping cart and they offer emailing, and honestly they're more of a CRM, a customer relationship management database, as opposed to just email automation and that kind of stuff, the stuff that I can get with, and I was doing with MailChimp. So I looked at that as a whole, and I went, well, it's really expensive, and no, I can't do that now. And I was in a business building seminar, and they had someone from Infusionsoft there, and the offer honestly was too good to refuse, based on price, but also additional value with some of the other key players in the room and that kind of stuff. And I looked at my numbers on what I needed to break even to cover that off as well, in addition to everything else. And I was already there. And I said,
I was going to say, has it paid for itself yet?
Well, I was already at, if I didn't sell any more subscriptions, and also I didn't have anybody unsubscribe, or not renew or whatever. If I maintained where I was, I would break even. And so I said, okay, you know what? This is where I want to go. In 6 months, I want to be at 1,000 subscribers. This is a tool that's going to help get me there. This is an investment that I'm going to make. Again, I looked at it. I ran the numbers. I'm like, can I do this? Can I do this? Yes, yes, yep, I can do it. Okay, boom.
And you don't really outgrow Infusionsoft, do you?
You can, but I won't, right? So if I was an enterprise...
I mean, if Michael Hyatt uses it with 5 million views a year.
Right, but if if I was an enterprise, like if I was a United Airlines or a Marriott Hotels or something like that, I'm not going to use them, right? I'm going to use some sort of other service like a Marketo or something along those lines, or Salesforce and those different kind of CRMs and whatnot that link into each other. So they're and Infusionsoft very much says this, that they're not for an enterprise, right? Their small to medium business is kind of their sweet spot. I'm pretty much as small as you get with one guy, right? And an awesome wife and a 6.5-year-old running around, who I still have yet to put to work at some point, but we may get interrupted at some point during this call because she's running around the house right now as well. But so that's where I went to, and it was when I realized I can use it as a CRM. I can easily segment, target, I can monitor behavior, I can create behavior, I can automate a number of different things that I was doing. So one example that I was doing before Christmas was, if you ordered after my cutoff date, you're obviously ordering it as a gift, especially because your free gift message says, "Merry Christmas, Ellery, enjoy the socks." So I'm like, well, I'm not going to ship them out to you on time, so there's no way that's going to happen. So I was going through and manually emailing every single order that came through as a gift order. Thankfully, I have Text Expander. I'm a Mac user. Don't hold that against me. So I was using Text Expander, so I had a form mail kind of thing filled out, and I'd add in things and tweak different stuff and send that out. But that was still taking a lot of extra time to do it. Would I change it? Absolutely not, because it allowed me to really see the process, to figure it out, to see where things could be automated, where they couldn't be automated.
Yeah.
And then it also really made a connection with the customer as well.
That I think that's more valuable than people might realize at first, Marshall, going through the process, going through the building. Because one of our members, Jen, set up she's in the process of starting her blog. I finally convinced her, WordPress is the way to go. You need some hosting and all these kinds of things. And I was like, you don't need to always do this. You don't have to continue making the website changes. Just like you don't need to know how to build a house, but you need to know that a hammer doesn't have to cost $100 and each nail's not $10. You need to have some sort of frame of reference. So if you were to hire a virtual assistant, okay, that doesn't really take 10 hours. You should be able to do it in 30 minutes. Those kinds of things. And so the process that we go through as business owners, to get from 0 to even just 10 miles an hour, just barely moving, there's some really valuable information in there, and I wanted to point that out. Was there, you talk about Infusionsoft being an investment, was there something other than it being a great price and a great, the timing of things lining up, was there something else that might have pushed you towards like the Lamborghini like you were talking about? Because, by the way, I wasn't distracted. I was pulling up MailChimp prices. You got $20 a month for that. It would go even higher with Aweber or GetResponse or something. And if you find yourself paying $60, $70 a month for just email, it might be worth looking at $200 for the full CRM. So was there something that you looked at that said, okay, this is the direction that I want to go?
I wish there was. Honestly, I wish there was. I mean, the Infusionsoft person that was at the meeting as well. I knew what he was doing when he was going around talking to people at breaks and that kind of stuff. And sure enough, he flat out called me out on it, and he was like, "Hey," he's like, "what if we could recover your shopping cart?" Right? People put stuff in their shopping cart, and then they walk away or they leave and they don't buy. And I went, okay, so. Now, just based on the way that I'm utilizing the system, it's not as easy and convenient as it should be. I could put everything into Infusionsoft, but I'm not. And as part of the initial setup, you get this 4-hour Kickstarter session, right, where you speak with an expert with Infusionsoft or a certified provider. And he was poking through my website and going through, and he's like, you could flip it to the Infusionsoft shopping cart, but it ain't gonna look anywhere near as good as yours does. He's like, I love your site. Your site is awesome. It looks beautiful. It looks great. Thank you. And those things, I'm like, well, then I'm gonna stay with what I have, right? So I'm still not fully utilizing that component of it. I have a plugin that connects WooCommerce with Infusionsoft. There's a couple of them out there. The one that I elected to go to is one called Infused Woo. I went with it because it's a one-time payment. It was still $150 US, but it was, so it was still an investment. But it allows the two to talk back and forth to each other. So as soon as you process an order through WooCommerce, it's automatically it creates a record for you in Infusionsoft. It also turns around and it will drop your order in there. It'll say what you've purchased. I can tag you, et cetera, et cetera. And I almost messed up there actually saying Infusionsoft because I almost said Infusioncast because so you mentioned earlier we met each other at New Media Expo last year because we're both podcasters, though I'm really lacking in that right now. Don't judge me. I'm trying something new. I'm trying this thing called Focus, right? So instead of doing 30 things,
you're also focusing on revenue, which I think 99% of podcasters don't have any.
But so when I signed up, so I was at this seminar. It was a Saturday. I signed up for Infusionsoft. The day was done. I got in the car. I pulled up my podcast player and I typed in Infusionsoft into the search engine just to see what was there for podcasts. And there's one called Infusioncast. And I went back to the very beginning of it. They had about 30 some odd episodes at the time. And every second that I was in the car, I listened to it. I consumed it. I binge listened to it so that by the time I actually got to my Kickstart call, my first call, I already had, like, my list was already imported. I had some tags set up, all this kind of stuff. And the guy was like, he's talking to me. He's like, okay, so that's the first two calls that we normally deal with. So, yeah, you're clearly ahead of the game. But it was
Nice.
because I took the time to go find it, to go listen, to go source stuff. So it doesn't matter what tool you get. Even MailChimp, and I'm not knocking MailChimp. I still use them for a number of different other things, just not with Sockbox. They're great. You just have to think outside the box a little bit more. But it doesn't matter the tool. You need to go use it. You need to get in there. You need to get dirty with it. You need to make mistakes. You need to try stuff. Because at the end of the day, you try it, you make a mistake, you learn. Ready, fire, aim, boom, turn. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, I still continue to use MailChimp after 3 years, and after moving, I knew I couldn't eliminate them with Aweber. I think I actually might be able to not use MailChimp if now that I'm using GetResponse, which is interesting, but also, I'm probably going to still keep it. Anyway, we have another question from Derek, who I'll just read his comments and question. Derek's interested in adding a physical product to his mix, and I know he's I wouldn't call him a beginner blogger, but probably less than a year. I don't know. I'm interested in adding a physical product to my mix, possibly T-shirts or novelty items with a logo or a saying or something like that. How were you, Marshall, able to locate your first bundle of stock? And also, I can reread this second question, but also, where or how have you continued to refine that process? So maybe that's kind of what we talked about earlier, getting multiple distributors, but yeah, how would you answer Derek's question?
Yeah, so I'll talk about socks and then I'll talk about shirts in a second as well, because I have a bit of experience with that. So again, the socks. I'm my ideal customer, which makes it a little easier, right? So I went out and I looked at the brands that I liked, the designs that I liked, and found out, who the manufacturers were, and then hop on their website. Some of them have a wholesale link right there. Some of them don't, but every single one of them has a contact. So again, I hit contact, I'd email them and wait.
What did you say? Like, hey, I'm interested in being a distributor for you, or how did that
I had a form letter, for lack of a better term, where, a template. There you go, where I would say, hey, Happy Socks, my name is, and this was all before I even launched. Actually, I should pull this up for you. I can send you a copy of this afterwards as well.
Sure. To cut you off for a second, I love that you're doing that, because so many people, I know there's going to be people listening to this. I know there's people on our live hangout right now who they want to have every duck in a row. They want to have not only their ducks in a row, but they want to have them all wearing the same suit and tie and them all facing the same direction, and they know the path, and that's not what you did.
No, exactly. So for me, when I hopped into Asana, I saw the number of steps required, and I still keep adding things to it as we go. I mean, up to over 100. I still have like 40 of them that I need to do, and here I am still into it, right?
I know. That's the bad thing about lists, is they keep going.
But you know what? It also, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh my God, this is daunting. And I went, well, wait a minute, though. As long as I make sure I do all these, it's going to happen, right?
Okay.
So I have an end in mind, right? 6 months, I want to be at 1,000. How am I going to get there? I'm figuring that out as I go. I didn't know my packaging until 3 days before I actually sent out the first shipment.
Do you still use that same packaging, by the way?
Right now, yes, I do. And that's also
it's cool.
Change.
It's cool.
It's totally cool. It's just time consuming. It takes me about a minute. Well, I've refined the process. So first month, it took me about 3 minutes to make each envelope. I've got it down now in about half that time. It's about a minute and a half to a minute 45 to make one single package. And if you hop on, if you go to Facebook and you go, my username there is sockboxca. Very similar to .ca, but you can see some of the images there are that. But back to that first one, so I was sending these emails before I even launched, right? So my subject was online partnership and/or Canadian distributor, and it was good morning brackets or evening where you are, I suppose, because I was emailing Sweden for Happy Socks, and I basically said, I'm in the early working phases of launching Sockbox.ca, a unique online sock shop specifically tailored to the Canadian market. I love, insert brand here, so Happy Socks, and think they'd make a great addition to our catalog. I'm not certain on numbers yet, but I'm doing some early research. I was hoping you may have contact information for a Canadian distribution partner, or information within your company that could help me out. Thanks in advance. I look forward to hearing from you soon and hopefully adding Happy Socks to the family. That was it. Short, sweet, gave you a little bit of information about what it was that I'm doing, and went from there. And that reply, so I sent that out. I probably had dates wrong here when I was telling you earlier. That was October 6th that I had that email. That email then was forwarded the same day to someone in the U.S. shop on the 7th, that then ultimately ended up to my box on the 7th, so next day. So I apologize. I said like the 6th to the 8th kind of thing, but so it was next day, and I had pricing information right there. So I was holding myself back. I was afraid.
Anyone email you back? Because this is what I would be thinking. Anybody email you back saying, "Who are you? You're a loser. Why would we ever want to do business with you? You don't even exist yet." That's what would be going through my head.
Exactly what I thought. That's exactly what went through my head. And then
anybody say that?
And then I said, I should just try it anyways, because if they say it, then great. Not a single person. And I can tell you, I think I told you this story already about the last shipment, but you know, and we'll get back to the t-shirts in a second, but I think this works well here. There's so much trash talk up in your head.
Yeah.
Right? That you have to get out of it. So I had all these shipments. I had my last month, 125 shipment or subscriptions, I think, something like that. And I was waiting on my supplier. I ordered at the beginning of January. 2 days later, I got an email from them saying, our warehouse is closed for inventory. We're not shipping anything till the 10th. Then finally, they got to me on the 12th. Oh, we're out of stock on these styles. So I got back to them right away. And then on the 13th, they're like, oh, we're out of stock on this. And then it was like the 14th, and I'm like, man, I'm supposed to have my socks here and ship them out already, right? So I was sitting there, I was sweating. I'm like, these people are going to be like, what the heck is going on? Blah 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 blah. Like, oh my gosh! And I'm like, I need to send them an email. I need to say, hey, I haven't forgot about you. I haven't taken your money and flown the coop. You know, I'm just having issues with supply right now. And I was fully expecting to be like, oh, you jerk, I want my money back, and oh yeah, right, whatever, like all these things, right? Like, oh yeah, you know, I should stay away from startups, and again, just like all this trash going on in my head.
I'm going with your competitor. I hate you.
Exactly. Competition is a good thing. It means there's a market, right? Remember that one as well. But so I sent this out, and then I went for coffee with a friend, and I was sweating. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to come back. Oh man. But I sent it because I was like, I want to treat every single one of my customers and clients and subscribers the exact same way that I would want to be treated. And that is with respect and honesty and transparency. And so I sent it back. I sent that out. And for the next 4 days, all that I got back were emails saying, thank you for the update. Your honesty, your transparency is what's going to differentiate you. This is so great. I can easily wait another week. I'm so excited for them to come. I had one guy reply back and say, I love what you're doing. If you ever need investors, let me know.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what? Because I sent this email saying, hey, things are not going the way that they're supposed to.
Wow.
Right? I didn't offer, so one takeaway, I didn't offer to refund anybody's money directly in the email, but had they come back and said, I want a refund, I gladly would have done it, right? I just didn't want to necessarily plant that seed there.
Yeah.
Before Christmas, the emails before Christmas, where I was like, I know you bought this gift for Ellery. I actually had, let's refund your subscription in there as an option. Not a single person took it up.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So tell me, what wrap the question about the t-shirts. You had
right.
something there.
So on the shirts, what I would do is I wouldn't look to stock them yourself and handle distribution. There's lots of websites out there that'll give you one-offs and that kind of stuff, right? Zazzle comes to mind. I haven't used them myself. There's one that I use. They've got a couple of different shops in Canada called Wardens. And I use them for my sock box t-shirts. I've used them for a number of other things as well. They're all print on demand. They're low volume. They'll fulfill it for you. You can have a storefront, very similar to Zazzle and Cafe Press even and all that kind of stuff. So I'd consider doing that. I did have a t-shirt business at one point in the past as well, but I also put minimum orders on it. It was here's the design this week. We need to get to 10 as soon as it's to 10. then we ship it out. Very similar to, who is it? I just heard it the other day. I want to say it's T-Fury. It's not T-Fury. It's, the name escapes me. There's another online T-shirt marketplace based, I think they're based in the U.S., that does it. They have a minimum order of 5, and then the shirt gets made. They handle production, distribution, all that kind of stuff. Man,
we could do that on our own too.
Yeah.
And kind of keep a thermometer or something, Derek, on the side, like, hey, we're at so many shirts this week, and we need to get a couple more. And somebody really wanted their shirt, and you had 8 out of 10. Maybe they buy 3 to bump you over.
I would absolutely pre-sell the heck out of that.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than sitting on inventory. And I can tell you, some of those shirts that we thought were absolutely totally awesome designs, nobody wanted.
Yeah.
And some of the ones that were like, oh my god, this sucks, were like the most popular ones. So you can't tell what your market wants, right? And it's got to be something cool. So definitely, Derek, try and pre-sell that, and you can build in enough margin. So if you find a local print shop that'll do them for you, that's another thing you can do. A local shirt company that'll do screen printing.
Especially if you're in a college town. They're dime a dozen, I bet.
Exactly. And you could turn around and say, okay, what's your minimum order? 50. Okay. And I'm going to get each one of those at $10 a pop, right? So that's $50. Well, turn around, price your shirt out at $20. You now know you only need to sell 25. As soon as you hit 25, you have the rest of your inventory covered. So you go order that minimum 50. You ship out those 20. You ship those 25 right away, and then the remaining 25, it's all pure profit, which you then invest back into inventory again, et cetera, et cetera. So I would consider some pre-sale aspect. That's it. With Sockbox, my launch, again, I had no stock, I had no inventory. I pre-sold a bunch of people on a year's worth of socks because I needed to prove that it was a great idea. If I had 15 people that did it and that was it, refund. Here you go. I didn't.
Yeah.
I had again, last month it was 125 with minimal marketing. So, and that was
up 125 new subscribers
total.
Okay.
But that's up from first month was under 50.
Well, either way, that's pretty awesome. Quick side note: my one of the guys that was in my fraternity, and we were roommates for I think maybe a semester at Baylor. If you've ever seen a T-shirt with kind of the guy holding his hands and it says "Jesus is my homeboy," one of my fraternity brothers created those. He had a T-shirt shop in Waco, print them, and he just basically got a royalty or whatever. He made thousands of dollars, and there wasn't a single box of T-shirts in our house at any point that I know of. And I'm with you. I would stay away from inventory as much as possible. I'm sitting over here on my desk. I've got these menu cards from my first live event, and granted, we're only talking about a $12 or $16 investment for the paper and everything, but I've got half of them because not as many people showed up as RSVP'd, and so I've probably got $6 or $7 worth of quote inventory over here that I can't use. But if you scale that to a $10 per item T-shirt or hats or socks or anything like that, and you can't sell them, that's just money out of your bottom line, out of your pocket, and there's not a whole lot of good that can come from it.
The bottom line is right now when you're getting started out, you want to minimize your risk and maximize your return. There's places out there that'll handle the production and fulfillment for you. Yeah, instead of making $5 a shirt, you might only make $2.
Yeah, stay profitable.
Is that $3 risk enough for you? Right? So that's what I'd say.
But tell us what's next for Sockbox. You mentioned 1,000 subscribers in 6 months, which, by the way, for everyone at home counting, that's over $10,000 a month in revenue.
Yes, not profit.
And even if it was 10%, that's still $1,000 a month. Not bad. You couldn't build this just on part time, because I know you're putting all kinds of time and effort into this. So, but it can be done and it scales. But what else is next for Sockbox? Where can we find you? And any other final shout outs or parting advice you can give us?
So definitely sockbox.ca. When you visit there the first time, you're going to get a pop-up for to enter in your email address, because I'm going to give you a free pair of socks if you give me your email address. Yep.
I didn't get my socks.
First time visitors only. Well, there's a catch. There's always a catch, right, Ellery? Come on. So sockbox.ca, that's ultimately where you want to go. And then Facebook is where I tend to be the most active as well, from as far as Sockbox is concerned. You had another question in there. Oh, what's next? There's a million and one different things that are next in my mind.
So what's your next
My biggest one is focusing on that 1,000 number, right? So I measure that on a weekly basis to see how I'm progressing towards that, because again, there's a saying, something about, what gets measured happens, or something along those lines. So that's my target. I have ideas and thoughts about branching out into women's and or children's socks as well. I'm getting a lot of requests from women for women styles. But I also need to maintain my focus on the men's side of things, and so that's where that is right now. But that's on the horizon. It's on the planning aspect of stuff, and even still, the business is systemized in such a way that I could technically outsource it to fulfillment. It's going to cut into my margins. I want to make sure that I have the process refined down to as much of a science as can possibly happen before I really go that route, whichever way you want to say it. And honestly, right now at the level that it's at, I can maintain that and I can handle that where it is. And again, it's like going right back to what I was talking about in December, sending those emails out manually, seeing what's happening, and having more of an idea of what actually happens and goes on in the business. But it's the intention. It's there. It's on the task list, whatever you want to call it. It's on the roadmap. When and where that is, can't tell you, because that's not my next step.
I hear. Well, Marshall, thanks again for coming and sharing with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Well, no problem. One other thing as well, if you want to connect with me on Facebook, just search for Marshall Stevenson. Actually, I think I'm facebook.com/Marshall Stevenson.
And /StockboxCA.
Right. Yep, exactly. So
awesome.
Both places.
Well, again, thanks for hanging out with us today.
No problem. Hope you guys could take something away from it.
And I hope you did take something away from this interview. It's actually much longer, but wanted to keep it around the hour time frame, even though we went over that just a little bit. So if you want to learn more about how you can test your idea and get a better proof of concept, if you want to know more details on creating custom landing pages and pre-selling or testing your idea, growing your business when you have limited time, Marshall's number one area of focus when your time and your money is constrained, and how to manage your money versus investing in growth for your business, go to members.ellerywells.com and sign up as a member. Become a member. Get access to the full live video recording of today's episode, and get access to participate in the future experts calls that I do every single month with my members, with my mastermind clients and my coaching clients, because this real live interaction with experts who are out there in the world doing what we want to do, that's how we learn and that's how we grow our business. So go to members.ellerywells.com and make sure you sign up. There's yearly pricing. You can get a discount there as well if you want to pay all up at front. And join the community. Surround yourself with like-minded people and change your reality when you change your community. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Empowered Podcast. I'm your host, Ellery Wells. We'll see you next week when we talk to Nicole Lappin, who wrote a fantastic book called Rich Bitch, and she's going to tell us how we can save money and be smart about our money. I'm looking forward to that interview. Look forward to sharing it with you. We'll see you next week.